How's the stream now? All right, cool. Okay, it looks like we're all live. Hello, everyone. So again, this is the second part in the Build a Full Stack Next.js app. Last week on Thursday, we did a planning session. And so I went through how I was going to plan the app, go through things like a wireframing. So we have a link for that here. Um, And we've also got the mind map, which was here. Okay, so we've got the brainstorm here. That was what we went over on Thursday. And we also have the actual, not the code yet. That's what we haven't got. So I've got all this information, what we did on Thursday, that is now available on the my website. So on andrewford.co.nz, it's the first article on the list at the moment. It's Build a Full Stack Next.js, Part 1 Planning. So if you look at that, there is the link to the video, link to the wireframes, screenshot of the whiteboarding, and there's a whole transcript there of the entire video. So if you want to quickly find something, you can do so. Awesome. Okay. All right, what are we going to do today? Today we are going to start setting up the initial parts of the app. Okay, so I'm going to go through that whole process of installing the actual code on a local machine, setting it up in a GitHub repo, pushing that to public so that you guys can see it. And then I'm also going to try and I guess start the part of actually building the app, start looking at the wireframe there and start getting that working. Okay, cool. Okay, so if we go to the docs for Next.js, so on the nextjs.org website /docs, there is usually what's for on pretty much every single website you can imagine, there's the getting started page. And getting started page is generally what we want to look at in terms of actually installing all the prerequisites there and actually get it up and running. So first of all, number one, you're going to need Node.js 16.14 or later, and pretty wide range here. You've got macOS, Windows, or Linux. Okay, I'm going to open up a terminal window. Let me see. Okay, so in my developer directory, I'm going to go into YouTube. And cool. Okay, so I'm going to create a new project here. Again, we need to look at that npx command. So let's grab that. Come back to terminal here. And this is going to install the latest version of Create Next. So what is your project named? We're going to call it LMS Next.js. Okay, we're not going to use TypeScript. I'll do that another time. We are going to use lint, ESLint, no to Tailwind, yes to source directory, yes to the app router, no to the import alias. So this is going to set up all the code needed there for React, React DOM, Next, ESLint, ESLint config Next. Funnily enough, it says those things in the installing dependencies part there. So, okay, Cool, let's have a look at this directory now. If we go into the LMS folder, okay, cool thing about it, it's already set up a Git repo for there. I'm going to open up this folder now. So open full stop or period, depending on where you live. So open there is going to open up the Finder. Cool. So we can see the actual files themselves. Cool. And we can do code dot full stop, and that is going to open up a nice version of VS Code already pointing at that directory. Cool. Okay, so I've got that up and running. You should be able to see that on the screen. What I'm going to do next is start talking about what other dependencies we needed. So going back to the whiteboard here. So I talked about the need to have Radix UI. So I was going to use that for my UI components. That way I'm not building them from scratch sort of thing. And instead I can actually just more worry about the other parts of the app rather than the actual UI components, because I know that these components have been tested. They've got really good accessibility, and instead I can just focus on, I guess, the back end parts of the app and not have to worry too much about the front end. The other part that I'm going to need is, of course, Superbase, and so we'll set that up as well. Okay, so let's go to the Radix UI website. Okay, again, it's a nice big getting started button. Let's use that. Again, I'm going to copy that. And I am going to open up the terminal window here. Okay. So while that's installing, let's go back and have a look at the getting started guide here. After that, I need to import the global CSS file at the root of your application, and then need to add the theme component and add theme to your application, wrapping the root component inside of body. Okay, cool. I'm going to grab that. Okay, so that's installed. And it'll go into the source directory. And in here, we actually have the actual layout of the app. Okay, so let's have a quick look at this to get our head around what's actually happening. So first up, we have a page. It's a home component, and we also have an image being pulled into it. So this is the actual, I guess, the content of that page, and the layout would be where the actual, I guess, the core part of the app is being built. You can see there that we have the HTML tags and of course the body there. Okay, so there's a body. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to import the style sheet. Okay, and then after that I am going to then go back to the Radix help file, and I'm going to do the import process here. So I'm going to import the theme. Okay, and then I'm going to wrap my app just like it has shown here in a theme component. And I can move it like so. Okay, cool. Body theme. Okay, I might actually do the same as what they've done. Probably pays to pay attention to what the instructions are doing. Okay, and I've got an extra tag there. Cool. All right. Okay, so we have the theme going now. If we actually run the application, let's see what happens. It's localhost 3000. Okay, so we don't, not seeing any sort of UI changes or anything like that. We've probably still got the initial stylings there from Next.js. Let's go with LMS. Okay, cool. So the title's changed, so we know that something's happening. And that's tab. And we can start pulling apart, I guess, what's already in there. I'm just going to rip it all out to this global style sheet. I'm probably not going to use that. Again, it's starting to look very sparse. And if I do the same here, I'm going to have to be a little bit mindful of the fact that it is expecting those styles that are coming from that CSS module. So I'm just going to pull that all out. Why not? Let's make it home. Cool. It's all stripped out, all completely pulled apart, but we know that, let's just double check that our CSS files that are coming in, we can see here we've got a whole lot of CSS variables. So these are the ones that are coming in from the likes of Radix UI. We've got whole different color suites here, all available to us. Awesome. All right. Can we see, do they have like a, yeah, it's just telling us where the CSS is coming from. Next.js, got some default values here. All right, and then we've got Radix themes. Okay, we are on the way to getting there. Okay. All right. Next steps, you're now ready to use Radix themes components. Cool. I will probably stop there, and a good place to stop probably is now into a commit of my source code. Initial commit added Radix UI. So if you've got the GitHub extension here, you can actually also do the same as this and publish it live. Awesome. So if I open this now, I should be able to see that in Chrome. Here we go. And it's public, so you guys should be able to see that as well. Awesome. Okay, next steps. Like I said, we talked about we needed Next.js set up, we needed Radix UI set up. The next probably part of what we need is start thinking about our database. Okay, it's pretty early on, I know, but it's good to get this up and running so we can actually start sort of planning out more of our app. Okay, so let's find the Superbase website. Cool. So I've already previously signed on with GitHub before, and I need to now create a new project. Okay, and call it LMS. And copy that password. Place that somewhere where I'm not going to lose it. Okay. All right. Okay, my password is saved now. Region. Not the closest to me. I might do Oceania, Sydney there, because that is closest to me. Okay, I'm going to create that new project. All right. Okay, so we've got the public key there. Okay, so that one's safe to use in a browser. Not going to show you the secret one there. And we've got the URL there for the RESTful endpoint for querying and managing your database. Awesome. Same as usual, best thing to do, open the docs again. And we'll click on the getting started here. Now, it's got a quite big overview of some use cases and how you could use it. We're actually going to be using it with Next.js, and they do actually have a Next.js section, which is a framework quick start. Very handy. So we've created that new project. After it's done, we should be able to see a table. Okay. Now we're not going to make a countries table. We're going to go and start off maybe with our probably course. I think it might be a good one to start with. And then we will then have to add the super base off there. Okay, so we can use either like this command line here, where we can add their template and have a look at that to grab each piece we need, or we can just actually manually add it into our project. So if we take a look at this, I can actually copy this. I'm gonna create this on the terminal. There doesn't seem to be a link directly to the actual project there, unfortunately. Not a problem. We'll sort that out in a sec. Okay, and hopefully, yes, our database is all set up and running now. Okay, so we've got the database there. So if we click on the table editor, you can see we've got no new tables. And we need to actually go and set it up with the likes of Superbase. Now, does this actually have a nice walkthrough for just adding it to an existing project? That's what I want to do. Okay, so here's an example here. So we need to install the superbase.js file here. I'm going to double check this so that it matches what's the expected there for Next.js. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to jump back to the terminal, create a new tab, move back a level. Again, this is pretty much what we've already done previously. Probably in hindsight would have been better to have done this using this template, but that's not a problem. I'll show you how you can actually still understand what is actually happening. Let's make that text a little bit bigger. A bit hard to see on the stream there. Okay, cool. So that's completed. Now in that directory, I'm going to open another version of code. We're going to have to take a look at it. The key part here is we can see that what has been added to it. You can see those dependencies. So the great thing about any sort of Node.js package, so whether it be using yarn or PNPM or NPM like we're using here, you can see what actual packages have been installed. So dependencies, of course, are the ones that we use in our actual app, and dev dependencies are the ones we use when we are working on our project in a dev environment. Okay, so I need both Superbase of the auth and I'm going to need the Superbase of the JS there. Okay, so while this is breaking, let's go and do that again. Okay, so Control A, npm install. There we go. Okay, so that should be updated our package.js. Nice enough. We've got the auth helpers there, and we can do the npm install. Let's grab the other one. From here. All right, okay, so now that's running. We've got the super.js file there. We've got the auth helper for Next.js. So what we've got is basically a roadmap of what we require. If we take a look at the actual project for the one that was generated from the template there, nicely enough, it's got an environment file. I'm going to copy that and place that into our project as well, because we're going to need something like this, but we are going to drop the example part from there. Okay. Now, big thing to look out for, it's a little bit harder to see. I don't know if the color contrast is quite good, but you can probably see that there's a whole lot of folders there on the left. We've got the public, the source, app, etc. And you can see at the top we have a .next folder and a node modules folder. Now that node modules folder is slightly off grey, off white sort of color. That means that it's being ignored. So if we look at our Git tab here, you can see that only the 2 pages there it's showing. I'm going to refresh that. Okay, and luckily enough, it looks like our environment local file is also on this list for git ignore. Now, if it wasn't, you'd have to go into edit into here, and you would have to sort of hide that environment file. But we don't have to. Thankfully, we have the git ignore has already got that local env file. It's not been committed to our source code. And why do we not want to commit to our source code? Well, because we basically be given the keys away to the house. If we push that up there, especially how this repo is public, you can be sure that there'll be a whole lot of people running scripts, hitting GitHub, and basically looking for projects that have API keys that are available to steal. So don't let that happen to you. There is some nice features now in GitHub which can actually look out for you and make sure that those keys don't go into your repo. But yeah, that's just a top tip there, making sure that you're not giving away the keys to the house. Okay, cool. So that's working. We've got that environment local file. I'll update this later and we'll never look at it again. So what I'll do is I'll grab my keys that I need for that, and then I'll be able to see what's happening there. Okay. Right. Okay. So we've got the Superbase parts pasted into our app. We've got them sitting in the package there, so we'll have those node modules now installed. Okay, so what's next? Let's look at what has actually been done. Okay, so great thing, it's already been set up for us. We actually have some components there, so we can take these, and the same with that Superbase directory. We can grab those and put them into our own app. That way, having the same sort of setup as what's already there. We're going to have a little bit of issues, and the key thing there that will be a bit of a pain will be the fact that this is in TypeScript and we're not using TypeScript, so we will have some renaming to do. Okay, I'm going to go and set up the same folder structure basically. I've got source app, and I'm going to have a source components like that. Okay, and we are going to need, we already have an app folder, a super base folder. Okay. I actually don't want any of this to-dos and stuff, so this is actually not a bad thing anyway to not have this already pre-configured. I'm just going to leave that out, not have any migrations there. We'll do that later. And what I do want to do, let's look at these components here. We'll start off with the logout button. I'm not too worried about the other two. Okay, so this one is a JavaScript file. And looking at this, we can see, it's relatively basic here. I can see it's using Tailwind, but we're not using that. So I'm going to export default. I'm going to call it logout button. Good to have the same name there. And we are going to return. Just keep it as simple as that if we want to. I probably won't be using one of these buttons, but that's okay. We will grab that form. And we'll put that button inside it. Now, one thing that's going to be slightly different, of course, is that we are using the Radix UI. So there'll be a button component already available for that. But I will change that shortly. Okay, so I've got my logout button. What next do we need to add to our app? So again, they've got the layout, they've got very simple page. Okay, so they are setting up a super base and they're getting a user. Okay. So basically doing a check there to see if they are logged in. Okay. Not a problem. Okay, so that's all good. We'll do that shortly. They also have a logon. So they've got a page here. So this is a logon page. And they also have the auth components here. So we've got sign up, sign out, sign in. So there's these routes. Okay. So these will act as a next response there. So if we make a request to any of these URLs, then we get the different redirects in place. Okay, cool. I should be able to just actually... Okay, it's going to do there, that's that. Okay, so I'm going to need that auth folder that's sitting under the app. Okay, and we'll start setting up these folders. Sign up, sign out, sign in. Okay, and the other one was callback. Gotta have focus. Okay, so that's all going to be part of our app as part of the authentication side of things. Okay, let's start off with the sign up. What can we copy? Mostly the same. Okay, I'm just going to copy this, and I know that's going to complain, but it's fine. Copy that. New file. Make it our route file. And we're going to paste it in. So the only thing we're having an issue with here is this. We don't have this request object. Request type, sorry. Okay, but we can have it like that. And pretty much it shouldn't complain. Yep, that's the only difference there by having it TypeScript and not. Okay, so that's all cool. Same again. Okay. So what are we doing? What are we actually doing here? We're actually making all the different app calls here. So great thing about Next.js is that it's both a front end and back end in one. So we don't have to create a separate Express app or something of the like to act as our API. And again, same as before. It's generally good to at least get to a known point. So slowly, I've just renamed it to yes there. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get to a point where, just like the Superbase data, that people be able to just start the authentication side of things. Like I said before in the previous session, we need this app to both be available, parts of it to be available on the public and parts of it available on private only, so logged in users. Okay, so we're going to sign in. Again, grab this. Remove that request. Okay, and the callback. Okay, callback has that. Again, another route. Okay. Anything else that I am going to need? Got my routes. Got my page. So they have a logon page, which I don't have. So it's got some messages here. Again, pretty simple. Could probably just copy that and rename it. Again, just change the file extension. And I can do the same with the logon, except I am going to strip that out in a sec. So we'll copy that again, paste it, rename it. Okay. All right. Link on the logo there. Don't worry about that. Probably not. Just keep the back there. Of course, I don't have any of these classes. I'm not using Tailwind. And we'll just leave the form in there for the time being. Take out some of these classes. I'll sort these out with the Radix ones in a sec. Okay. Looking a lot better. Okay, so that's not going to be so bloated, I guess, with all the Tailwind classes. Okay, so that's the logon and sign up and sign out. Probably a good point now to check in what we've added. So I'm going to add the Superbase auth. That's enough, probably. Okay. Commit that, push it. Okay. Not going too bad for time. Okay, so we've got that there. We've got the actual page there. We've got, what else do we need? They've got a middleware. So we can do the same because we'll probably need to have some sort of middleware here for authentication. So I'm going to add that. That is sitting in, it's even sitting outside the app itself. And sitting in that top level. Okay. We don't need a type. Okay. Okay, and what other parts have we not configured? Let's compare these. So they've got the experimental server actions on there. Add those back in. Middleware. That's the Superbase folder. We should be able to generate that from the CLI, I believe. And we've got the lockout button, Next.js logo, Superbase logo. Nice. Cool. I've added those files back in. I'm now gonna actually make this project a dev container. So we'll commit the changes here. Like so. Okay, so that's pushed. Okay. Now that I've got that set up, if you watched my stream a couple of days ago, I went over how we could set up a dev container. So I'm going to add that now. So I'm going to need Docker running. So if I didn't have that running before, I should have it shortly. Okay, so that's running. Now I need to actually run this in a dev container. Add that configuration file. And it will just use the default for now. Okay, let's just add it, and we should be able to now reopen this in a container. So the reason I'm adding it to a container is the version of Node. Got it on, trying to use 20, slightly experimental, or the latest. So the idea being that if I need to change, I can set my different version of Node based on this dev container here. I can swap it out for something else. It just means that in sort of future proofing. Okay, so that's running, and we'll run a dev server. Again, localhost 3000. Okay, cool. It's running again. Just what we wanted to see. Okay, so that's running. You can see there it's made their requests. That's all good. Okay. So I've still got the app. I've got the page. So this is the home, and its layout is sitting under here. It's wrapping that theme. Okay, so we can have a login component. So if we try to go to that, let's give it a shot. We should be able to go to login. Okay, so we've got a not particularly pretty looking form, but it's there. Okay, so we've got that working, and we've got our login. Let's keep going. Okay. So the key thing that we would need with anything that we're working on, of course, is our URL and the key there. So there's those two keys. I'm just going to go back to the home. Go into the project settings. Okay, so we need the project URL. And paste that in. And the non-public. Okay. So I'll probably have to stop and start this for us to take effect. Got some friendly faces in the chat there. Okay. Got those keys added. Added them to that local config. These are not my secret keys. This is purely for safe to use in browser if you have enabled row level security for your tables and configured policies. So this is the one where we would set up all our configuration there. So that we would then have it secure. We haven't set up any of these yet. It's all early days. Of course, I'll be changing these out at some point. Okay, so we've got a table editor. What else are we going to need? We're going to need to set that up and create a new table. And let's go back to our whiteboard session. What have we got here? So I said we've got a student. We've also got a course. The course is probably the core table there. So I'm going to create that table first. And it's called course. If I spelled it correctly. Okay, so I'm going to enable row level security. We're not worried about it being real time. I need a column of a name. So this is some text here. And I'm also going to add a description. Okay. Okay, what have we done here? This is the Superbase editor. So it's a great way to run a Postgres database in the cloud. And it allows me to just add a record there like so. I've got no active RSL policies at the present, but we'll add those as needed. Insert a row to begin with. That's automatic. That we just use now. Okay. First course is going to be on CSS. Why not? CSS and Next.js. Description. Okay. And now I've got my first table. Awesome. Okay, so we've got our homepage. We've got a table set up. We've got all the authentication done there. We're on our way to actually building our app out. Okay, so what am I going to do next? We've got our Radix installed. We've got Superbase now installed. We've got a table set up in the cloud. We've got a Git repo now of our project. So that's now publicly available, so that you guys can see that as well. And I'm just going to add this div container now and push that live. Okay, that's pushed. It's a local file. Let's sync it. All right, so now we have this project. We've got, I guess, the core parts of it that we initially needed set up. We've got a div container that can go with it. We've got our Radix UI installed. We've got the Superbase auth helper here, the Superbase JS file, which is what we will use to retrieve the data from Superbase. We've got ESLint. We've got ESLint config next, so it's on a lint configuration for Next.js. We've got Next itself, so Next version 13. React DOM, React. The other thing that I would like to add to this is Prettier. So I'm going to stop this and add that to the project. Okay. I generally use Prettier and ESLint together. One for formatting and one for finding errors. Okay, so that's installed there. Okay, that's done like that. It's installed, and do I have the extension? Okay, so I'm going to install those in the dev container. So I've got Prettier that can, and ESLint, like it's already been added. Cool. Awesome. Okay, so those are both added there. Again, more changes. Prettier's installed. Add to my config. Package config, package.json, added Prettier. And the other thing that I'd probably want to do, make sure I've got those extensions installed. Now they're going to be part of this container. They're part of this user interface. So we've got those there. The other last thing I can do when we're starting up the project, it's always nice to have a npm install. So this is going to start the project up when it first makes those dev containers, and it is going to install all the node modules. So I had that rebuild. Just saving the next person that has to open the project or ourselves. Another thing to do basically of installing npm extensions, npm packages. Okay, cool. I think I'm going to stop here today. So we've got sort of like the basics there of the project. It's all been configured, it's been set up. We've grabbed a lot of parts from the existing template there for the likes of JS with Superbase. And we've also set up our Superbase table. Next time we will do actually get the authentication running, and we'll try and get some data showing on the page coming from our database. Hope you all enjoyed that. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. It makes it easier to want to keep doing more of these videos if I get the feedback there from you guys. Please comment as well if you've got any questions, and I'll try to answer those too. All right, have a great day, and I will see you next time. Catch you later.